second garden tour of the year. So we're gonna go over here and look at the little garden first. And so my lettuce is still doing okay despite the heat. I didn't thin that out. I could probably pick that here in a little bit and eat it as baby lettuce. Just because the heat is already here and it's just the end of March. Well, almost the end of March. I do have my potatoes planted in there already in these buckets. I have potatoes. So this is more lettuce over here. I'm not sure why I'm planting in here when it's time to pull the lettuce out. But this is the little garden right now. I am in the process of weed eating everywhere because as you can see by the grass, it's a little bit overgrown. And now let's go over here in the big garden. I have already been working on this morning, and it's quite a bit different than what you saw in the last video. So this year I'm doing something different, and I'm putting my squash in these big buckets because I'm going to have to hand pollinate them, and it's easier for me to reach if it's up a little, and it protects it more from the ants, because unfortunately I'm going to have to put some pesticide down for those guys, even though I don't want to. They're just too prolific and I may not have a choice. The other thing new that I'm doing this year are these tomato trellises with the string. It's an experiment. I saw this on a YouTube video and I thought it might be helpful. And because they're not permanent, I can move them, so I can rotate and put the tomatoes somewhere else next year. And then my rosemary bush survived the week of freezing, and I did trim him down a bit, but he's looking really good. My sage came back, and in these little pots right here, I planted some marigolds. This is the nasturtiums that I started inside. They got a little bit of sun scald on them, but not too bad. And I think they'll come back pretty easy. And then here is my cosmos. I got another cosmos over here. That one bent over a little bit, so I'm not sure it's gonna make it, but I'm sure gonna try to help it along. And then for the first time, I have planted some more tomatoes along the fence line just because I have an overabundance of tomato plants, and this was the only place I had to put them. And they got a little bit of transplant shock on them because they're a little bit droopy. And then in here, I planted my calendula, and I'm not sure if these guys are gonna make it, but I'm sure hopeful. More tomato plants. And this is the state of my broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Believe it or not, I weeded this bed before I planted all this stuff, and it just the weeds have taken over again. And also, I had some onions in the ground from last year. Let me zoom in a little bit. So those onions back there are going to be ready to pick pretty soon, because they were, surprisingly, they survived last year. But I also have new onions planted in this bed, with my Brussels sprouts. And then this morning I I've been just weeding, so preparing this bed. I think I'm trying to make this bed my herb bed. Pardon the dog, he's going crazy, probably over a cat. And this is my compost bin. And I've put lettuce in this tower, but it doesn't do super duper well in the tower. But I'm trying. And then for right now, there's nothing over here. I'm going to plant my watermelon and my spaghetti squash and my cantaloupe in these beds that go along the fence line. So I was going to try to plant them vertically, but I'm not going to have enough pots for that. So right here is my Kamatsuna, and I think I planted garlic in with them. Can't remember. But the bugs are getting to it. And I'm not sure how much of that we're going to be able to eat because the pest pressure has been so heavy to start off with this spring. And then over here is my cabbage. And I did mulch this so it doesn't have as many weeds as the rest of my garden does. But even with the mulch, it's still got some weeds. So I'm going to have to weed that real heavy. And I'm going to intersperse this with my peppers. I'm over there with I'm going to put my pepper plants. Like my nadapinos and my banana peppers, I'm going to put them over here. Over here I'm going to put my jalapenos and my bells. And then over here under this, I'm trying to kill off the weeds underneath it. I'm not sure what yet I'm going to put there underneath that. But then I also have, I've already pulled some of the radishes out of this bed. Just again, the pest pressure has been crazy. So I don't know if you can see that. The leaves are just a mess because something is eating the leaves. And I have a few more radishes that I can pull out of there. They're just the little breakfast radishes, but they are so good. We've had some already. And then over here is my carrots. So I think I might put a couple of tomato plants in this bed, because these guys are going to be ready to come out soon. So anyway, this is the beginning of my 2026 garden. I am really hopeful that everything makes it, and I'm going to do a much better effort of keeping it weeded and watered than I have in the past, because this year it feels so important to make this garden work. And so stay with me as we go through the garden season, and hopefully we'll be doing some riding soon before the weather gets too hot, and I'll try to take you along on one of those adventures. So as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.